Alan Tyndall and Colin.
But in fact, the correct title is the Perry Crisps Fiat Final. And this is a 10-lapper, and it's going to be something else, because in pole position, you've got Alan Johnson, Ken Bolger alongside him, and then Kevin Byrne. It's virtually all Ritmos up the front of the pack. It's an absolute packed grid here at Mondello. They're all very equally spaced out in terms of performance, and consequently we can expect the most extraordinary Fiat traffic jam at the first hairpin. Now, a bit of a fumble going on the grid already. It should be Alan Johnson, number 21, coming into pole position. He is now. Then Ken Bolger, last year's champion, coming along on the middle of the front row, and on the outside, Kevin Byrne, who is really much further up the grid than we would normally expect.
Yes, a very good position there, but there's the pole position man, Alan Johnston, and we're moving in now to Ken Bolger. And he's got a special message there for Pat Armstrong, who's recovering in hospital. Pat, a man who's raced Fiats, get well soon. And
Kevin Byrne, that is, making up the front row. On the second row, we have Eugene Ward in the very distinct pink car. Then Dermot Carroll, one of the founder members of this class. Michael Cullen to look out for just to the bottom left of your picture there, because he's leading the class in the championship. They're all about to go. It's all hell let loose for Telecom Corner, and here they go. Front wheel drive, scrabbling for grip as they set off down this quite long drag. And there's a bit of certainly paint rubbing and squeezing going on there. Alan Johnson's gone very wide, and round goes Cullen. That's our camera car, who's going to get the most extraordinary pictures, and he's been bashed from all angles.
yes, well, disaster there for Michael Cullen, and indeed Eugene Ward, the pink car we see there. But the show goes on. The show must go on, and this is what it's all about. It's absolute door-handle stuff. Alan Johnston out in a commanding lead already. Ken Bolger there just taking the inside line from Alan Byrne. But Alan Johnston made a very, very good start, and he is hoping to get his first Fiat win. He hasn't yet won in this class. He transferred from racing karts. He's a former 5-time karting champion, but he hasn't yet actually won in this class.
Meanwhile, behind him, it's Kevin Byrne just in second place from Ken Bolger, and then all coming through. A tremendous battle, but certainly Alan Johnson's made the break, a quite extraordinary break at the moment in Fiat terms, where certainly I very much doubt we're going to see any more of Michael Cullen, but here they come.
Well, if we don't see any more of Michael Cullen, it'll have been a disastrous afternoon for him. He was leading his class in the Dunlop Motorsport Championship. He was leading the Fiat Challenge Series. And if Mervyn Miller finishes anywhere in the points, I think that Michael Cullen's Sexton hopes are gone.
So there's our race leader, ex-cartman, great character, Alan Johnson. Got married this year, thoroughly enjoys his motorsport, enjoys every minute of it before and after, loves the banter in the bar, and he has got, in Fiat terms, an absolutely colossal lead. It's really quite incredible, but he really benefited from that mayhem on the first corner. He is flying.
Yes, he has a huge lead for by Fiat terms, and it's surprising in a way, because the engine in this car just freshly rebuilt in the last week. Alan told me this morning that he was concerned that it mightn't be just 100%, but it was good enough for pole position. It was good enough to do a lap time quicker than he'd ever gone before, and it's good enough to lead the race.
Just looking at Ray Kellett, we saw his brother figuring very strongly in the Group N saloons earlier in the day. Alan Johnson indicating, right, I don't think he means that. He's just getting a little bit flustered, but the war is really on behind, because it's Ken Bolger in second place, being very closely shadowed there by, I think, Kevin Byrne. We'll just check that. Yes, Kevin Byrne in third place. One person we must look out for here is Mervyn Miller, number 4, because he's very much in championship contention still, particularly as we no longer have Michael Cullen running. There he is, and he's off. He's off. Now, that's disaster for him, because he really was making up places well there. So that was Mervyn Miller, a big mistake.
Mervyn Miller there, blowing away 4th place, and indeed his chances in the Fiat Championship. So it's extraordinary. The television cameras for the two championship contenders, it seems to have been a disaster for them.
The order after lap 2 was Alan Johnson, second was Ken Bolger, third was number 27, and that was Kevin Byrne. In 4th place, we had momentarily Mervyn Miller. Now, in fact, it's number 41, Christy Connolly.
Yes, Christy Connolly taking advantage of Mervyn's problems there. But there's our race leader, Alan Johnston, just being followed by Ken Bolger. Ken runs his own business in car preparation business, And a man we haven't seen racing very much this year, Ken Bolger. I think this is only his second appearance this year, but he clearly hasn't lost any of that.
Number 8 was Hammond. We saw him in action winning the consolation race, going extremely well there, moving up through the grid. So, and we can see damage there, and that is Dermot Carroll's car. That must have happened in the first lap melee there. Dermot Carroll with a damaged front wing, but it doesn't seem to be affecting his performance at all. So David Hammond now under terrific pressure. He's fired up with enthusiasm after his earlier win today, and obviously very, very much at the sharp edge and moving up through the field.
Yes, David Hammond, he's up to 6th place, in fact, the bank official with the AIB, and he's obviously, his confidence is very high after the race win earlier this afternoon, and he's really knocking on the door of Dermot Carroll now for 5th position.
And just to show how much damage that first lap accident did, he's actually come from the 5th row of the grid, David Hammond, so he's going well. And he's having a bit of a problem, though, getting past Dermot Carroll, one of the great entertainers of the Fiat class, one of the founder members. I can remember most extraordinary antics from this man, and Mervyn Miller just behind him. So this is an interesting scrap now.
A fascinating scrap. Miller obviously making a good recovery after that disastrous mistake at Telecom Corner. We just see him coming back up now in 7th position.
So there they come, streaming down the hill. There's Miller recovering fast, and Hammond making a bit on the outside, and Dermot Carroll not an easy man to pass. Then we have number 44, Ray Kellett, in there also. We saw a glimpse of John Donoghue as well, but still holding him off, Dermot Carroll. Hammond on the outside, Miller closing all the time. There you can see the stricken car of Michael Cullen looking heavily damaged in the background.
Well, we see David Hammond taking a look at the outside line to get around Dermot Carroll. Dermot, I think, is far too experienced a driver to fall for that one. Dermot really knows his way around here. He's been racing here for many, many years. He's rallycrossed and raced Fiats. He knows these cars absolutely inside out. He knows exactly what they can do. And David Hammond, I think, is going to have his work cut out getting past Dermot Carroll.
Absolutely. And this scrap is so intense that it's probably dropping back a little bit from the people up front. Lifting the old back wheel on the Fiat's a fairly common sight when you're up on this knife edge of adhesion. There he goes. Carroll in totally unsponsored looking car, half distance, and a lot to be decided yet. Mervyn Miller not closing as quickly as we would have thought. And indeed Alan Johnston now not just as far in the lead as he had been, because Ken Bolger in 2nd place seems to be closing that gap somewhat.
Yes, Johnston is beginning to give way a little bit to Bolger. Bolger also a very, very experienced man. He not only prepares that car, Ken Bolger also prepares a number of other cars, including Michael Cullen's car, so he also knows his way around these cars. But there we see David Hammond still trying to get on terms with Dermot Carroll.
And the wreckage of the Fiat Lambs littering the side of the track as Alan Johnston climbs up the hill out of Budweiser. And it's still this little winker is going. He hasn't even had time to notice that on the dashboard. So busy is he at his work. Used to karts where you sit a lot closer to the ground in, rather than these get up and beg Fiat Ritmos. There's the 3rd place man, Kevin Byrne, who came off the front row of the grid. In fact, 1, 2, 3 is all the front row of the grid. They were through the corner before the damage happened, and they've got a fairly spread out. But Bolger could make a challenge before the end of this one. 4th place. Now just coming over the hill, Christy Connolly, and here's this epic battle for 5th. And this time Hammond really makes a bid down the inside.
Yes, I think a little bit too deep. He actually lost out there, and although now they're side by side coming onto the Dunlop Straight, we have David Hammond on the inside, and this is the right position to be in now to overtake Dermot Carroll. At last, he's got lined up. He's on the racing line, and he has it. He takes 5th position. So what about Mervyn Miller? He's watching this battle from directly behind. And I wonder if Miller is ready to take advantage of this dice.
Not far behind him, Ray Kellett, number 44. Also look out for him.
Yes, a real gaggle of Fiats, but meantime out the front we still have Alan Johnston. Here he is, our race leader. His indicator's still on. And Alan Johnston, I think, looking forward to putting things right, because he took his 5th consecutive pole position in Fiat racing today, but yet still the race win has been eluding him. So hopefully he'll do it today in front of the cameras. Just up on the curbs, that's a normal antic from Johnston, using all of the road. and heading on the brakes into Barham Corner.
So they're the leaders, and there's the third place man just going through. Bolger not making the progress we had quite hoped for. 3 laps to go. He'll be very much aware of that. His pit crew will be telling him, and he really has to get the head down and go for it. But look at the battle up here for 5th place. Hammond's got through. Carroll's about to be demoted, is he, by Miller? Miller's on the right line, coming down at the end of the Dunlop straight. If he just keeps that, he should be able to force out Carroll. Carroll doesn't mind about that wing, it's already damaged. And Miller, in a classic overtaking manoeuvre, gets through. But Carroll hasn't given up yet. And my goodness, Fiat Noms, aptly named.
Absolutely, we can see how these cars get their... on. Here is big trouble now. Warren McAllister sideways across the track at Telecom Corner. And just behind him there, number 55.
Chris Tormey, and he was well in the running. Those two were in about 6th and 7th places. So that's 2 more eliminated as the leader goes on his merry way. 1,001 reasons to be happy he will have if he can win his first Fiat race. Bolger is the man that could spoil that dream for him, but his hopes are beginning to fade as Kevin Byrne slips further and further back in 3rd place and almost into the cuddles of Christy Connolly.
Well, Johnson should be very satisfied now with this drive. It's an excellent performance. Bolger, I think at this stage, has almost given up hope. This seems to be as close as he can get to Johnston.
You can hardly see out over the top of the windscreen there. He's not a very tall man, Alan Johnson, which was ideal for karts, but he would nearly need a pillow to sit up and get a good view of the circuit in this situation. Bolger must be sick of the back view of that car by now, but he doesn't seem to be able to close on it.
Well, of course, this is the cream of Fiat racing that we're watching here. These are the absolute top men in the class. But this class is all about budget racing. It's about being able to race on a shoestring. These cars are worth perhaps between £1,500 and £2,000 each. So it's quite an easy proposition indeed. Anyone who's interested in getting involved in motor racing, this is an excellent class for them to start in, the Fiat class.
And also, I think a very good advert for the reliability of these little cars, because they really can rev the guts out of them and they don't ever seem to burst. There's 3rd place, just coming over the hill now, Kevin Byrne. In 4th place, as the leaders go on to their last lap, is Christy Connolly. And here in 5th place, Hammond, followed now by Miller, followed by Carroll. There's the man with only about 3/4 of a lap to go before the nicest sight in motor racing, the checkered flag.
Well, I think Alan Johnston must be obviously touring on his last lap now. He's beginning to wonder, is he finally going to make it? Will he finally break the duck and take his first Fiat win? I'd say he's listening to all the little funny sounds in the car and just keeping his fingers crossed that everything keeps working correctly.
Down he goes, takes Budweiser perfectly, not using all the road, comes out over the top of the hill, probably has a little glance in the mirror to see where Bolger is, but he's far enough back at this stage. He just corrects a little slide there as he comes in, through the S's, lifting the inside wheels, still up at racing pace. Now he'll let her drift out to the outside, just tipping her onto the curb. Another glance at the mirror. Bolger's not going to do it. I'm within 1 corner of my first race victory. It's a very good feeling.
It's an excellent feeling. And Johnston now, he can nearly see the checkered flag as he comes out of Barham Corner. And what a lovely sight that is for Alan Johnston. He takes his first Fiat victory from Ken Bolger, the reigning champion from last year, going through in 2nd place there. And Kevin Byrne, a superb performance from him. If I'm not mistaken, that's probably his best result in Fiat racing.
Christy Connolly coming through in 4th place, and then we have to see who comes in 5th. It looks like David Hammond, who's had a very good day, a win in the 5th place, and then Mervyn Miller. Now, the question is that enough to give him the class championship? I don't think so. So, Alan Johnson, happy man indeed, as he goes on his slowing down lap after the Perry Crisps form